Hi friends. Okay, so everybody thinks that I've been running since many years and training to run marathons. But the fact is that I ran my first half marathon in 2015 at the age of 42. I had never run beyond 5 to 7 kilometers before that. And there was a race happening in my city, Kolkata, and my daughter just casually told me, "Mom, why don't you take part in the marathon?" So to me, a marathon was a 10K back then. So I said, okay, let me try, and I got my name registered for the 10K. A few days before the race, I thought, why not do a 21K? It's on my bucket list. If I can't do it, I'll walk out. So I called up a friend and I said, you know, I want to run a 21K. She said, have you ever done a 10K? I said, no. So she said, fine, you do a 10K, and if you can do a 10K, sign up for 21. So on the Wednesday before the Sunday of the race, I did a 10K. And I said, yeah, I can do a 10K, let me do a 21K. And I signed up. Race day, reached the race. I didn't have dry fit clothing. I didn't know what racing gear is. But I was there and I was going to run. And that is where my journey with running began. And that is when I realized that the body can achieve whatever the mind believes. So I ran that race and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The distance was beautiful and I loved running long. And I had a good finish. I finished with a time of 1 hour 55 minutes, which was a really big thing for me because I could never imagine that I could run that long. When I finished, I thought, hey, it must be a fluke. How can I run 21K within 2 hours? So in the next 2 weeks, there was a marathon happening in Goa. I went for the half marathon. I got the same time there. So when I got back, all my friends and family said, you got to do SCMM in January. Registrations had closed. So I said, okay, let me try. So I bought a charity bib, started from the back of the line, and I did a 1 hour 44 with a podium. And that really inspired me. And I said that, yes, this is what I want to do, and I want to push myself more. I want to do a full marathon. So I came back fully charged, started training that I want to do a full marathon. I set a goal for myself. I said in my first full marathon, I want a BQ. I want a Boston qualification. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. So I started training. I had just begun when I got a gym injury. I was in pain. I couldn't walk. I couldn't believe something like this had happened to me. I was shattered. But you know, anything can happen to anybody. I was depressed. A very dear friend of mine gave me this book, Dare to Run. I read the book not once, a few times, and I realized a few things. That impossible is nothing. And the body will achieve whatever the mind wants it to. And I set my own limits, and I should not give up. So I changed my attitude towards myself, towards my rehab, and I worked on myself. I took it slow. I started jogging. I started walking, and slowly I started running. It took me 3.5 months, but I was running again. So in July, I took part in a race in Bombay, which was a 25-kilometer race, a very tough race. This one, and I came first there with a time of 2 hours 15 minutes. There were 2 hills which we had to do 4 times. When I reached Mumbai and I was standing at the start line of this race, there were all these really gym-fit guys who had done these races many times. We don't have hills in Kolkata. I had no hill practice, no hill training. And they were gloating about how much they eat and how they run and how they're going to kill the race. And puny little me, I was just standing there and I wanted to go and hide in some corner. But I said, no, I've come all the way, let me just give it my best. And I did well, so I was happy. This was en route to my training because I had signed up for the Chicago Marathon. That was the full marathon that I wanted to do and get a Boston qualification for. I was training, and that is when I realized that yes, in spite of getting hurt, in spite of being down for 3.5 months, the body can achieve what the mind believes. You just have to believe in yourself. Then I went to Chicago. I ran the race. I did a time of 3 hours 32 minutes. And a Boston qualification for me is 3 hours 45 minutes. So I had achieved my target of getting a Boston qualification in my first race, in spite of being down for 3.5 months and missing out on the training that I had planned to give myself. Fine, I came back. I was on top of the world. I wanted to push myself further because I thought that, you know, I have no limits. Why should I limit myself? So I started training for the Delhi half marathon. And I trained very hard. And I was looking at a time of sub 135. Just a week before the race, I got a muscular imbalance, something called lower cross syndrome. It was as if an iron nail had been pushed into my hip. I couldn't walk, I couldn't sit, I couldn't bend. But I was determined to run. My family told me, you can't do it, you're going to kill yourself. I said, no, I'm going to go. I limped all the way to Delhi. In Delhi on the race day, when I got off the car, I limped to the start line. I couldn't do a warm-up because I couldn't do a high knee, I couldn't do a butt kick. But I was determined to run. And I knew I was going to run because I knew I was going to be in pain. And I had decided to make friends with the pain because pain was inevitable. When I train, it's very painful. Running is very painful, but I train so I can tolerate it. So I started to run. And when I ran, there was not a moment that I did not want to stop. But I knew if I stopped, I would never start again. So I finished the run. I don't know how I did it, but I did it because I just wanted to do it. I ran with my heart, not my body. I ran with my mind, not my body. So that led me to believe, yes, the body can achieve what the mind believes. Because I could not even walk and I had run. I collapsed at the finish line. My very good friend, who's sitting right here, he picked me up and took me to the medical tent because I was totally broken. But I had achieved my goal of finishing the race. Yes, I did not get the time of sub 135, but I still got a podium. After that, I was determined that no, I'm never going to give up because the body has no limits. It is up to me, it is my mind, it is all within me. The closest I have come to perfection in my training is my day-to-day, regular, consistent practice. I feel that is perfection. You cannot run a perfect race. There is nothing called perfect. It is what you do every day that is perfection, vis-a-vis a single day of racing. And that gives me a very strong, resilient, and a very balanced relationship with my running. I don't have fears of lack of determination, lack of motivation. And I don't fear training. For me, running is a journey. It is not a race. After Delhi Marathon came the Kolkata TSK. So I started practicing for that. But my goal was SCMM. I ran TSK as a practice run. I got a podium. But that was not very important to me because I was up against very stiff competition in Mumbai. Mumbai was the race that I was actually planning for and giving my heart out to. It was a full marathon. It's the biggest in our country. And there the competition was very stiff. And the biggest competition there was me because I was my biggest competition. I don't compete with anyone. I compete with myself. And I compete on a daily basis with my mind, with my willpower, with my discipline. And yes, when I ran in Mumbai, everyone told me, look, you cannot beat your time. Because my competition was my Chicago time, which was 3 hours, 32 minutes. People said, Mumbai is a very tough course. It is impossible to beat a time of 3 hours, 32 at your age. But I was not going to give up. I had made up my mind, and I ran my heart out, and I ran a 3 hour 29, and I got a podium. So I firmly believe that when you have a dream, and you're passionate about it, and you're sincere about it, magic happens. The entire universe comes together to make your dream come true.